How's it going, everyone? In today's video I'm going to be doing another top 3 alternative exercises video, just like my so you can't back squat video, but this time we're going to be doing the top 3 alternative exercises if for whatever reason you can't do bench press. Now I know for 99.9% of people watching this, there's very rarely ever going to be a reason that you choose not to do bench press unless there's something that's forcing you to not do it. Maybe it's injury or movement restriction or something like that, but I am going to just give you a few alternative exercises that you can do if you're one of these people that either can't do bench press or maybe just bench press doesn't really agree with you. Unlike my squat video though, this isn't going to be a ranking from the third best to the best, because I do think as good as bench press is, and it's certainly in most cases always the go-to exercise for your flat pressing movement for your chest, there's very few occasions where you 100% must absolutely have to do it, and I think there is other pressing movements that can be interchanged with the bench press fairly easily. Obviously if you are somebody like a powerlifter who specifically has to train the bench press with a barbell, then in that case that's obviously going to be a non-negotiable, but I think just in general there is a lot of flexibility when it comes to your pressing. And if you stay till the end of the video, I will give you 2 exercises that you may be doing instead of the bench press that aren't actually the best substitutes, and I'll explain why that is. So stick around to the end of the video for that, but before you stick around for the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if it helps you, and even if it doesn't help you, just go and like and subscribe anyway. It costs you no money at all and you're helping me out massively, so thank you in advance for doing it. Now on to the list. So as I said, this isn't going to be in a specific order because I don't actually think that there is any one exercise that is the absolute best exercise to do instead of the bench press, but I think these top 3 pretty much stand head and shoulders above the rest. And just like the last time, this is just like a general, if you are training just to get a little bit stronger, train to get a little bit bigger and more muscle, perhaps you're maybe even training for a sport, it's not like the best alternative exercise for this specific thing. So within this list of 3, these exercises, there isn't any one that's better than the other. So the first exercise I'm going to give you is the incline bench press. If you are unaware, your incline bench press is the exact same movement as a normal flat bench press, except obviously, as the name suggests, you're on an incline. Now, incline bench press is a brilliant exercise, but I'm actually not a particular fan of it because I am really shite at it, but that is purely the only reason I don't like it. I still do it because it is a great exercise. You're still going to be able to use a lot of load when you're doing an incline bench press, maybe not just quite as much as you would be able to if you were doing it flat, but again, it's still a great exercise for you to pile load on and work your chest, and also a little bit of your front delt as well. The degree of incline I always advocate for is 45 degrees, so that's obviously, if that's 90 degrees and that's 0 degrees, we're just somewhere in the middle. And then obviously person to person you can always vary it just ever so slightly. You maybe go somewhere towards 30 or maybe somewhere up towards 60, but I think that general range is where you should be doing it. And the higher the incline you are, the more of your front delt you're going to be worked, and that's also why it's a great exercise as well, because you are working a lot of your front delt, even more so than a flat bench press. And then the lower the incline goes, the more it's just going to throw the load onto the chest. So it's like absolute brilliant exercise, and I think if you can't bench press, using an incline bench press as your primary pressing movement for your chest is an absolute great alternative. Exercise number 2 is the flat dumbbell bench press. So this is obviously the exact same movement as a normal bench press, but you are just using dumbbells, and this is going to be good for anyone who maybe does have a little bit of a niggly shoulder or an injury or something that is just making their movement restricted or awkward. You have a lot more freedom through the movement of using the dumbbells. So in a lot of cases where I've worked with people, they maybe do have a wee niggly shoulder, rotator cuff or something like that, and they struggle to do a flat bench press with a barbell, but you swap them onto dumbbells and they're just able to move so much better and easier and pain-free. In a lot of cases when you are using dumbbells for your pressing movements, you can really find that sweet spot about where you really find the muscle working, and then also just get yourself at a nice angle and position where you just feel you're strongest, because you're obviously don't have that fixed barbell that really you can only move in a certain way, if that makes sense. Obviously the somewhat downside to this is you are obviously now having to have that instability factor, which means it is harder and you can't use quite as much total weight, but you are still going to be able to use heavy weights and overload the muscles doing these. And it's a rough equation, and this is just what I've found to be accurate, and this isn't a science backed study or anything, but roughly the total combined weight you can use on dumbbells is going to be roughly similar as the same combined weight as you do on your incline barbell bench press. And it's not going to be exact, it's just a ballpark figure to go off of. Now the third exercise I'm going to give you, and it's my personal favourite exercise on this list, and that's the incline dumbbell bench press. So just take everything I said from the last two exercises and combine them into one for this exercise. You're on an incline, you're using dumbbells, you've got a lot of freedom through the movement, you've got a little bit of an instability factor, you're working a lot of your front delts as well, and yeah, personally for me, this exercise just agree with me, and I actually just like really enjoy doing them. I think if training for strength is your primary goal, this is the probably least specific exercise, maybe not quite the best exercise for you, but I think as a hypertrophy, bodybuilding, muscle growing movement, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And even then, if you do have a strength focus in your training, I still think that having this as your like primary exercise, your main focus of your session, I think that is totally fine, and you can just like pile as much weight on the dumbbells, obviously picking up the heaviest dumbbells you can, and you can use it as like a strength exercise. So that is the three best. Now I'm going to give you the two exercises that I think maybe aren't quite the best, and we're going to start off with machine pressing. Obviously you get a million different types of machines, and I think again, if you find a machine that works for you and you feel everything, you know, nice and engaged and everything, that's great, that's perfect. But I think that your machine work should be underwritten by your like free weight work, your heavy compound lifts, not the other way around. So if you do like to use a machine in your session, keep it towards the end of the session, use it as a finisher, do it when you're fatigued. You need to make sure that you're keeping all your energy and doing your big heavy compound lifts when you're fresh at the start of the session, and that's obviously going to give you a lot more of a strength adaptation as well as building just as much muscle as a machine would. And please, no bodybuilding dorks, please nobody come at me because I just said that. And the second exercise I'm going to give you, or just general variation of, is if you can't do bench press, don't substitute your bench press for a flying movement. So many times I speak to people who maybe can't do bench press or choose not to do bench press, and instead of doing that they do a fly. And it doesn't really matter what that fly is, whether it be a dumbbell fly, a machine fly, a cable fly, that is an isolation exercise. That's not like a heavy compound lift that's working the whole muscle. That's just going to work a little small area off the muscle, and you're only going to be using piddly little weights as well, rather than loading up with big heavy weights that is going to overload the muscle and obviously make you a lot stronger. Flies are great, and I regularly include them in my programs all the time, but they're never ever going to take the place of a big heavy compound pressing movement. And similar to the machines as well, do your big heavy stuff at the start of the session and then put your fly in at the end of the session, because it's just not a suitable substitute for a big heavy bench press. So that is the list. Hopefully you found all this useful. If you're someone who doesn't do bench press or struggles to do bench press, or maybe needs to improve their bench press, please feel free to let me know. I'll leave my coaching inquiry form in the bio below. There's not a week that goes by that I'm going to keep calling the description the bio, but yeah, that's certainly something I can help you out with. And if you're someone who struggles to bench press and can't do bench press, maybe you've got a little bit of an injury that's stopping you, please feel free to reach out and I can definitely give you a little help out. Injury rehab is something that I do have a lot of experience in, and have taken people from not being able to do any bench press at all to bench press and PBs within 6 months. So definitely feel free to give me a shout. All my social media is in the description as well, so give me a follow on there, and you can even reach out to me on there as well. And that's pretty much everything. I will see you in the next video.